Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Mike and today we are going to be talking about my favorite one and done eyeshadows. So these are all one shade of eyeshadow that if I want to do a very quick and easy makeup look, these are some of the shades I grab for if I really don't know what to do. These are washes of color with a little bit of shimmer usually. Can you guess what shade is going to be most represented? Yes, I'll wait for you to guess in the comments. Yes, it will be taupe eyeshadow because you know I love a good taupe. So I've got all of those shades selected for you. I also already did some close-up swatches of these, so I'll be inserting those as I am talking about these shadows. Since there's 20 of them here, let's just get cracking. So I'm just going to pull these out of my little bin here that I have sitting next to me, and then I'm just going to talk about each one. So one of my favorite one and done eyeshadows, and this is why I did some close-ups, because I was like, if I'm sitting this far away from the camera, you're never going to be able to see exactly what I'm holding up. But this is a MAC pigment in the shade Tan. This came in a little holiday set a few years ago, and it's this really pretty, not necessarily a rose gold, it's got a little bit more brown to it, but I really like the way this looks when you just blend it all over the eye. I mean, that's going to be the premise for all of these shades, so I just want to get that out of the way. But I really like how this shade in particular just looks when you just buff it all over the lid. You can buff this into the crease and it will just look a little bit differently wherever you put it, even though it's not necessarily like a duochrome or a multi-chrome or anything like that. This is just a really, really nice pigment, and I'm glad that I have it in a small size, because a big size I would never ever get through. Because these pigments are just incredibly finicky to use as well, especially these small ones. I mean, it's got such a small opening, you can barely get a brush in there. So with this, I really like to use my fingers actually. So what I just like to do is that I sort of take off the lid, put my finger over it to cover the hole, do it like that, and then I just like tap it onto the lid and like blend it, and then maybe I'll take a fluffy brush afterwards to sort of blend the edges and neaten it up a little bit. It's with most of these shades, I don't like to be too neat. Most of it is just like slap, slap, and I'm done. This is not one I like to travel with. There are definitely a couple coming up that I do really like traveling with, but this is one of those things where, you know, if I just want to go for something super easy, maybe with a bit of liner, and you just have a really easy look. And this is one of those shades where I feel it could really make a nice go-to for when you work in an office and you're not allowed to wear a whole lot of makeup. You know, if it's one of those things where wearing like something like this isn't just not going to cut it, then this can be a really classy, easy way to still wear a bit of makeup, but without going like full-blown smoky eye. I also put some liquid and creams in here, not just loose pigments, but Stila's Cloud is one of their shimmer and glows. And this is one of those shades, I don't wear it a whole lot because it's one of those things that doesn't really go with a lot of other shades. I find you can really only wear it by itself, and because it is a liquid, it can get a little like difficult to blend out, which is why I don't wear it a whole lot. But I do think, like, when I was planning this video, I was like, yeah, Stila Cloud, if there is a liquid shadow I own that I would wear by itself all over the lid, then this would be it. Mine is getting just a teensy tad bit dry, but I'm just going to think, after filming this video, I'll just plop a little drop of Duraline in here to revive it a little bit, and then I'm pretty sure it will be good to go. But yeah, Cloud by Stila is a really lovely liquid shadow that makes for a good one shadow when you're done kind of look. Let's just get these other textures out of the way first. So this is a Colourpop shadow. Unfortunately, the name has rubbed off, but this is a Supershock, of course. This is in the shade So Quiche, and you can no longer get this. In fact, I think some of the shades I'm showing you today are discontinued. I do apologize, but So Quiche is a really nice dimensional taupey, greeny pink shade. It's got a really nice shift to it, and I love traveling with this. I love putting this either all over the lid if I want to go for something darker, a bit more smoky, but I really love this even better if I just smoke it along the lower lash line as well. So this is, again, a one-stop shop, but I do wear this also in combination with other shadows. Whereas, for instance, the Stila shadow I just showed you, I only ever really wear that shade and nothing else, whereas with this, I do tend to mix and match it with other shadows. And one of the shadows I like mixing it with is another Colourpop Supershock, and that is Ritz. This, together with So Quiche, is my travel combo. If I go anywhere, these are the two shadows I pack. because I know that the pairing of them will give me enough versatility that I can do whatever. And Ritz is so lovely all over the lid. It's got a nude base, meaning that when you wear this, the base will just blend with your skin tone, and then all you have left is this really nice wash of something almost like a glass like shimmer. Like not like full-on disco ball shimmer. I do have an option for those of you who would like that. But this shade is just so lovely because it looks like you're not really wearing anything. But then when the light catches the shimmer, it just looks really prettily on. And then what I like to do sometimes is that I put this all over the lid, this on the lower lash line, and that is my combo. But sometimes I will also wear this on the lid first and then tap this over it. Like the combination of these two is also really good. And with just 2 shades, you can already do a lot. So that's why I love traveling with these, because they're small, compact. I can use these with fingers. I can use this if I don't have great lighting. I can just whack them on and I'm good to go. With this one, I do like to blend it a little bit with a brush. With this, I always just use fingers and I just kind of like dab it on and that's it. I actually wore this again the other day. I tend to wear it as like this is a shade I grab for also even when I'm not traveling. So quiche, I don't. But this is definitely a shade where, you know, if I just need to quickly whack something on because I don't really have time to do something like this before I head out to work or before I'm heading out to meet friends or anything like that, and I still want to wear something, but I just want to make sure that it's like a 20-second job, then this is a shade I go for. So this is definitely one that I knew I had to mention here. Another loose pigment, and this one I can't open up for you because it doesn't have a sifter or a lid on it. Once you open the lid, it's there. But this is by J-Cat, and I picked this up when I was in New York from Ricky's. I wanted to try a J-Cat product because I'd never tried them. And then I spotted this loose pigment, and it's called Mirror Ball, and I think that that's the right name for this shade. It is a loose pigment, so again, do I wear this a whole lot? No, but this is a multi-dimensional, like multi-chrome kind of shimmer. It's got blue, it's got purple, it's got a little bit of everything, and it has this really intense mirror-like shine that just makes the shadow reflect differently depending on where it is sitting in your eye, but on your eye, not in your eye. You don't want shadow in your eye, I guess. But on your eyelid, and then the way you move your head, it's just going to look different in every single light. And that's just why I love this shadow so much. It's again, not one that I wear a ton, but this is a really lovely, like, special occasion kind of shadow where what I like doing is just like using like a basic matte in the crease or maybe just my bronzer and then putting this all over the lid, and you've got a look that looks like you've done a ton of work, but actually all you've done is put like a loose shadow on, and that's it. Like it's that kind of shadow that really looks like you've got 5 different shadows on that you've blended together and you've layered into oblivion. But it was just one shadow, and again, it's super duper quick, even though it's a loose pigment. I do think though that because there is no lid, so what I tend to do is that when I open this up, there's always quite a bit stuck to the lid itself, so that's what I tend to use. I never really dip into the actual shadow. I have one more that isn't a powder shadow, and this is a K-Beauty Mirrorholic from Etude House. This is very similar to Ritz, where it has this like pinky nude base, but this is far more sparkly than Ritz. If Ritz is a bit too tame for your liking, then I would highly recommend looking into the Mirrorholic. I believe, what's this called again, this shade? Can I read it? Pink Ornament, I think it says, yes, Pink Ornament. And this is just super duper sparkly. Again, wearing this, just this on the lid is going to make your lids look like you're wearing glass shards all over them, which sounds quite painful, but that's what this is. A little bit more disco ball kind of vibes, I have to say, more so than the Colourpop, but it is a really, really lovely shade, and this is just the amped up version of Ritz, where if you want that little bit more oomph, or for instance, if you were to put this on first and then put Ritz over it, I think that's a really good combo as well. With this though, I do say use it sparingly. It is a liquid shadow, and it is a liquid shadow that you can just put like one little dot on your eye, and then you just sort of buff that in with your finger, and then you're good to go. If you use everything that's on the doe foot and apply that and then try to blend it, this is going to crease because the layer will be too thick. So that is something that you need to look out for. And then we're moving on to powders. I've got a couple of single shadows, but I definitely also have some shades that I pull from palettes from time to time. But an OG favorite, and this I actually pulled from my Back to MAC stash for my full face of MAC video, and now I'm like, oh, but I really like that. It's Sea Worship, and this is an extra dimension eyeshadow, and this came out in the Alluring Aquatic limited edition. That's the packaging I have, in case you're wondering. But this is still sold. I thought it was discontinued because a lot of these were limited edition at first. But this is a really lovely, like olive-y kind of shade. So now we're also getting into some like other things than taupes and pinks. Because that's what everything else has been so far. But this is more of like an olive-y shade. And this, with my brown eyes, if I wear shades like this, it's more like cocky olive leaning. It really complements my brown eyes. So that's why I do like this. And this one as well, it has a shine to it. There is a sheen, but it's not too overpowering, meaning that this is the kind of shade that you can sort of put from lid to brow if you'd like to. And it will look differently just because you put it in different placements and maybe because you use a different brush with it. This shade is, again, one of those main transformers. I've got a couple of other ones from MAC coming for you in a minute. But yeah, MAC is really good at doing those kind of eyeshadows. Two more singles for you that come in pans. I have a Catrice shadow that I know you can no longer buy. This is Under Treasure from their Liquid Metal eyeshadow line. And this shade is a wonderful taupe. It's one of my favorite taupes in my collection, which is why I can't get rid of it, even though these have been taken up. These were taken off the market like 4 years ago, I think. But mine is still fine. It works really well, and it's just a really lovely shade. Because it is a taupe, it is a little deeper than anything else I'm sharing with you today. So this is more for that smoky vibe, but this is, again, another shade that has a little bit of a sheen, and if you just buff it in with a blending brush around the edges, you can really make this look dimensional depending on wherever you put it. This can go all over the lid, in the lower lash line, and you perhaps put a dash of your highlighter somewhere else to give it a little bit more shine and sparkle, for instance in the inner corner or the center of the lid, and you're good to go. And then we have Burburry's Rosewood, and I'm not sure if you can still buy this. I believe the Burberry line changed quite a bit since I bought this, but this is a rosy taupe. I told you there will be a lot of taupes, but this is really special to me because it is brown, a bit of plum, but it also has a bit of gray, and it's got pink. So it has a really lovely sort of earthy vibe to it. And what I love about this shadow in particular is that where the other ones, like they look dimensional and all that, this is more of like that wash of color. So if you want to go for really like the bare minimum, if you can't just wear something this intense, if you feel that's not flattering on you, you don't want to go too overboard, then this is the kind of thing where with just a fluffy brush, just like blending it in a little bit in the crease, and you're good to go. That's what this shadow does for me, and for years that's also the only way I use it. And you can tell I've used it a lot because this has quite a significant dent in the left side of the pan, because I would always dip into the same side of the pan whenever I was still using this like on the daily. Not using this daily anymore because I have so many lovely eyeshadow palettes, but this is one single shadow that I can't get rid of, just because I can really see myself like a few years down the line if I don't want to wear anything like this to work anymore, and I just want to make it like super quick and easy. This is a shadow I fall back on all the time, so I know I will be getting more use out of this. Some palettes then as well. So we have the Violette Etundu from Viseart. This was released last December, I believe, and I tried this because I wanted to film a video where I knew I was going to feature this. And then this shade right here, that lavender taupey kind of goodness over here, it's a lot more reflective than some of the shades I've shown you so far, but I do really like the way that looks. Again, it's perhaps a little too shimmery for it to really go all over into the crease and all that, but on the lower lash line and all over the lid, this looks really fantastic. And it does have a little bit, if the light doesn't hit it that directly, it does seem to have a little bit of a deeper base, which is why I think you can still push this into the crease if you'd like to. But another mainstay when it comes to one shadow and you're done kind of things for me is Zoeva. A lot of their palettes have really good one shadow and you're done kind of shades. I'm holding up the Precious palette. I have another one coming up in a minute, but especially this shade here called Exquisite in the Precious palette. I don't think this palette is still available, but this is again a little bit more purpley leaning, but it's got that sort of murky base to it. And that seems to be a pattern for me now that I've swatched all of these. I really like one shadows that are like this murky, taupey, plummy kind of base with like an earthy kind of thing to it that really grounds the shade. That's what makes it perfect for me for just blending it all over my lid. And then with a bunch of sparkle to give it that dimension that when you move your eyes and your head and the light catches it in different angles, that it just looks differently every time. And that's what this shade does most definitely as well. But we cannot talk about one shadow and you're done kind of shades without mentioning actual singles. So I'm holding up my Clionadh palette where I keep my multi-chromes, and of course multi-chromes are always perfect for like one shadow and you're done looks. The one I wanted to showcase today is Red Chameleon over here by Sydney Grace, because that shade is a bit like Mirror Ball actually from JCat. It has a very sort of multi-dimensional, multi-chrome kind of vibe to it. It's got like a brown-green base, but with a red sort of flip that pulls a little bit more like to the deeper end of a plum. It is that oil slick kind of shade that I love, and Red Chameleon is one of my favorites because, again, it's one of those shades that, just like the JCat, you put that on and it looks like you're wearing 5 different eyeshadows, but in fact you're only wearing one. And Sydney Grace is super affordable and their quality is really, really good. So I knew I had to give them a mention in this video. And then finally from my singles, I wanted to show you some MAC shades. So this is my MAC and Makeup Geek palette that I still have to reorganize. So don't mind the color story. I just whacked everything in here. That's all I did. But over here we've got Patina, and here we have Woodwinged. And Woodwinged is one of my OG one shadow and you're done shades. It's a MAC shade that I've loved for years, and it's a gold. Now, you know I don't love gold eyeshadow, but this isn't too stark of a gold where you go like, that's too yellow, or that's too orangey leaning. It sort of really takes like that middle ground. It has that murky, more brown tone base to it, and it doesn't have a whole lot of shine. It's a little bit more of a satiny shade, and I know that nobody likes satiny-like shimmers anymore nowadays. Everybody wants like kapow, foiled metallic, boom, goodness. Bit like what I'm wearing on the center of my lid today. But Woodwinged doesn't have that, and that is why it is so perfect. And Woodwinged is the perfect shade that will just look differently no matter where you put it on the eye. You put it on the lower lash line, it looks a little bit deeper. You put it in the crease, it looks even more deep. If you put it all over the lid, it has that shine that really catches the light. You can put it in the inner corner. So this is truly like a one shadow that just, again, combines really well with other shades too, but that one shade, if you just plop it all over your eyes, you're good to go. In here we also have Patina, and Patina is a bit like Woodwinged, but I feel it has a little bit more of a shift to it. It's not a full-on duochrome, but it's got this like pinky green quality to it, but it's still a neutral. So it's almost as if you're wearing color. It actually reminds me a bit of So Quiche. Now that I think about it, but So Quiche is a lot deeper than Patina. So again, those could pair really well. But Patina is one that, again, if you just use it all over the lid, it's just going to look differently whenever the light hits it from a different angle. And that's exactly what you want if you're looking for one shadow and you're done looks. Now, so far we haven't really mentioned a lot of warm tones, but of course, I've got lots of people who do love warm tones watching me. So I knew I wanted to feature this shade. This is from the Nabla Soul Blooming, which I believe has been discontinued. I am ever so sorry. But if you do own this palette, then really have a play with the shade called Garçon, which is this like coppery, bronzy shade that really has a bit of brown, a bit of yellow, it's got a bit of orange, it's got a bit of red. It's not too much of a vibrant copper that it looks straight up orange, but this again, I found blended so nicely depending on where you put it on the eye. It's perhaps a bit deeper than what I would personally go for all over the lid, but it was a really great shade to play with. And I found that it did look quite flattering once I did do that. So it's not something I gravitated towards naturally, but because I was having a play with this a few months ago and I put it in a Shop My Stash, I was like, oh, but that's a really good one shadow and you're done kind of shade. So that's why I wanted to feature it here. The odd one out, Modern Renaissance. Did you know I was going to feature a matte? Everybody knows I don't love matte eyeshadow, and I definitely don't love matte eyeshadow for a one shadow and you're done kind of look. But Red Ochre from the Modern Renaissance, if you still own this palette, if you have this, give it a whirl. I love using Red Ochre as like a one shadow and you're done kind of look in the fall time. Like this to me is fall vibes, and it's red, but it does have quite a deep brown base to it, which is why I feel it kind of works. And because I have a hint of green in my eyes that only shows up whenever I like pair it with the right makeup and make sure it's like the right lighting, that's when you can see it. But that red shade really makes my eyes look a little bit more green, a little bit more hazily. Doesn't make my eyes look really deep and brown, which usually navies and browns, for instance, do. But this makes them just look a little lighter, which sometimes I like that look. And this is the kind of shade that is really pretty if you use a bit of like a black pencil and sort of like smoke that on the outer lash line first, and then putting this shade over it. You've got an instant smoky eye. And it's just a lovely one. So that's why I did want to feature a matte in here as well. And it's warm toned. Aren't you proud of me? I promised there would be another Zoeva eyeshadow in here. Again, this has been discontinued, sadly. The Heritage palette features this shade right here in the middle. It's a bronzy taupe with a hint of gold. Let's see what it is called. It is called Marble Statues. It has nothing to do with marble, I can tell you that. But this shade is just so, it's such a good shade. And I keep this palette around kind of for that shade. No, that's not true, because this is also pretty. There's other shades in here that I like, and it pairs really well with the other shades in the palette, I have to say. But this is the kind of shade, again, it has quite a bit of shine to it, so it's perhaps not the best for putting it in the crease, but because it has that depth to the base, you can make it work. So that's why that shade has to be put in here. We're almost there. We still have Kaleidos left. The Astro Pink palette from Kaleidos features a really pretty icy lavender, and this is perhaps the one where I really feel like it is so it is so vibrant that this is going to be difficult to pull off in the crease. So this is like one that you just sort of like put all over your lid and then you're done, maybe on the lower lash line. This is a stunning, super intense lilac kind of shade. It is really bright, I have to say, as in like it's got a lot of shine and dimension to it. So you do have to like that kind of thing, but I really like the undertone of it because it is more on that murky side again. And then of course, the OGs. Let's just talk about Naked 2 because that's the one you can no longer get. However, the shade I want to mention, Urban Decay has done as a single for a long time. They may still do it. And it's YDK. YDK is a rose gold shimmer in the pan, but when you put it on the eye, it has again that dimension that I love in all those other ones I've already mentioned. So I can be really short and sweet about it. This is the kind of shade that, again, you put it on the eye, it looks differently from every single angle, and because it isn't too intense on the shimmer, you can very easily just blend it into the crease and be done. And finally, my another all-time favorite one shadow and you're done, and that you can still buy, is Mugshot from the Naked 3. Mugshot is a rosy taupe. It's quite similar to Rosewood from Burburry, I think, but this has more shimmer and it's a bit murkier. So especially YDK and this, they really have that murky, earthy kind of vibe to it that really ground the shadow. And I remember wearing this shade, just this shade, nothing else, on my eyes one day. And a colleague was like, "What are you wearing on your eyes? That's such a pretty eye look." Whereas usually I wear something like this, where I'm using like 5 or 6 different shades that I was using. and then you wear just one shade and that's when people compliment you. But yeah, then you just know that it's a super successful look. So yeah, I was really happy with these. Those were all the 20 eyeshadows I wanted to mention in today's video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. I hope it was helpful and that you now have an idea of what kind of shades you might want to just wear as one shadow. I know some people really like to do that. I myself like to do it when I'm busy and I need to just get out the door. I don't want to faff around with too much stuff. That's when I go for these things. So thank you very much for watching today, you guys. And yeah, subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make 3 new videos a week, and then I would like to see you in my next one. So stay tuned. See you then. Have a great day. Bye-bye.